the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Mauro, and with me today, as always, is Mike Walsh. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
We're recording on a Friday, so I am almost spent, to be truthful with you.
And it's a beautiful Friday. Like, it's warm and it's sunny, and it's really hard to be in an office looking out at this awesome sun.
Yeah, but that's okay. We'll have plenty of warm days ahead of us. So you and I are having a very special podcast episode. Actually, the kind that I enjoy doing the most because it usually devolves into some fascinating inside baseball. And I think people like to hear things like that. I know I do. When of the litany of podcasts that I listen to, when I can get people together, or when I'm listening to people talking about how they do their jobs, why they do their jobs, what it is that sort of fuels them, I really find that to be the most fascinating, regardless of the industry, regardless of the profession. I think that's great. And you and I happen to be Catholic communicators by profession. We've been doing it for a long time now, and we like to talk to others and steal their ideas, don't we, Jen?
Oh, you love to steal ideas. I like to work collaboratively with others. But, Catholic communications is probably, besides cats, the number one thing I love to talk about. So I am very excited for today's podcast. Mike has a frown on his face for everybody who can't hear it already in his voice. But I think the word cats made his entire mouth just like fall in a sad face.
Well, no, I mean, cats are fine. They're just, I don't want to offend our cat listeners or our listeners who are actually, I don't want to offend our cat listeners. And I don't know if I
think they're our main demographic.
And our listeners who happen to be cat owners. Yes, those people. But we're coming up on actually World Day of Communications. And actually not long after that, we're coming up on the Catholic Media Association's annual conference. And betwixt those happens to be the Catholic Communications campaign by the USCCB for not every diocese participates, but a lot of dioceses participate. And certainly in the Diocese of Camden, that second collection, 50% of which comes back to the communications team here in Camden and a number of other dioceses around the state and around the country. So, on the weekend of the May 20th and 21st, which should be the weekend following this episode coming out, for those of us who are in the employee of the communications departments and appreciate our salaries, and more importantly, appreciate all the bells and whistles that we get to play with, and of course, the opportunity to be good communicators to the Catholic faithful, feel free to donate heartily.
That also means you cats.
Exactly. I'm expecting a lot of donations from cats. So because of what's coming up and that, we wanted to pull together what I would consider a murderer's row of Catholic communicators.
Wow.
It is. It's true. It's absolutely true. From around around all the dioceses in New Jersey. Yep. And amazingly, we of the 5 dioceses, all 5 dioceses are going to be represented on this podcast. It's fantastic. For those of us outside of that, you don't know how amazing that is, because getting the 5 dioceses together to work on any single thing is like herding cats. So the cat reference comes back.
Hey, Mike, when we post this podcast, and you know how everybody who knows our podcast sees that there's always our photos, can we add a cat into the photo arrangement?
Well, it's irritating. I just finished it, and now I'm going to have to go back and add a cat. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But Jen, would you be so kind as to let the listeners know who is joining us today? Because I don't want to mess around anymore. I want to get right to it. Right. These people
and listeners, I'm going to speak slower than usual because I want to pronounce everybody's name properly. We all know I have a problem with that. So, speaking slowly, we have today with us Marie Margiotta. She's the Director of Communications for the Archdiocese of Newark. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Hi, Jen. How are you?
Good. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, both of you. Thank you.
We have Jay Agnish. He is the Director of Communications for the Diocese of Paterson and the editor of the Beacon newspaper. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
We have Gerry Wutkowski. He's the Assistant Director of Communications, Diocese of Metuchen.
Hey, how are you guys?
and this is like his third or fourth time on the podcast, so
this is great to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have him back.
And we have Marianne Hartman, Director of Multimedia Production in the Diocese of Trenton. Hey, Marianne.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having us. I'm a substitute for Ian Bennett, our Executive Director of Communications.
Yeah, it was very sad. I happened to schedule this thing for one of the few days Rayanne has off, and but Marianne, thank you so very much for stepping in. We really appreciate that.
No problem. It's already been fun.
It's already beautiful.
Well, that's a good sign. So, I sort of led off the podcast talking about Catholic communicators and, what it means to do this job. So actually, Jen, I'm going to ask you the question first is, as someone who came from the secular world into our world, you've been with us now for almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
And before that, you were in Trenton for 5 years?
I was with the Trenton. I worked with Marianne and Gerry for almost 5 years. Well, I was there for 5 years, but Gerry left a little bit before me.
So what made you become a Catholic communicator?
Oh, I didn't know I was getting questions on this. I had been in secular press since 2000, working for multiple newspapers in the Hudson Valley and then Central Jersey, Diocese of Metuchen, actually. And then I also worked for the U.S. Army for a while as in their PR office. But, it was lacking something, all of those things. It was lacking a bigger purpose, I would say. We told great stories. We did great work. I'm very proud of that work, but it wasn't fulfilling me personally, spiritually. And as many know, I came into the Catholic faith in 2005. And the more I got closer to my faith, the more I felt called to do something more with my talents, which, is writing. I like to say, though, Mike sometimes says, really? That's how you write? But I was... No, he's giving me the look. No. What did you say? I have a very particular way of writing. That's what you said.
Yeah, but I've never criticized your writing. I've criticized your choice in photographs, but I've never.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Photographs are not my strength. So anyway, and now that I'm in Catholic press, I can never see myself doing something that is not involved in the Catholic Church, whether it's writing, not taking photographs, editing, or just being involved in Catholic media and Catholic storytelling in some way. It's fulfilling to be able to share the gospel through other people's stories, lives, and it's very inspiring.
So, Maria, you have been with the Archdiocese of Newark since, December of 2014?
Exactly, yes. And I took from the secular world.
Well, that's why I was going to ask. So what brought you into this beautiful world of Catholic communications?
Well, at the time, I took a lead from my kids. I sent my husband and I sent our kids to Catholic school, and they were just becoming more and more involved with serving the church as altar servers and Eucharistic ministers. And as we participated in school life with them and attended church together, it became more predominant in our lives. And so I was at a point in my career where I was looking for something new, and something opened up in one of our other offices, actually, in the Office of Catholic Cemeteries. They were looking for someone to handle their marketing and communications. And so that's where I started and spent several years before Cardinal Tobin appointed me as an acting director of communications at the end of 2018. And a few months after that, he appointed me full-time director.
Now, when I came on board, I knew your predecessor. I have to actually give him a lot of credit. I was new to Catholic Communications, but Jim Goodness was someone I had the opportunity to talk to a lot. I find that as the years progress, I seem to be turning into Jim a little bit, in the sense that Jim was a grizzled veteran of Catholic Communications. And now that I'm honing in on my 8th year, Jen, would you say I'm grizzled at this point?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think you were grizzled 2 years ago when I met you, though. So I'm just.
It was a quick grizzling process. But the Archdiocese of Newark, you have, you're unique in the sense. So you're the metropolitan of the state of New Jersey. So that for the province of New Jersey, rather. So there's a lot that comes with that, but you also get the extra added benefit of having a cardinal in your midst, and all of the Roman requirements that has.
Yes, we're blessed to have Cardinal Tobin lead and shepherding our 212 churches and 74 parishes, and and as you know, he has global church responsibilities that take him to the Vatican regularly, and he's actively involved in the synod process on a global level. So there's not only the local communications responsibilities, but at times there's also global media interests and outreach that comes into my office as well.
212 churches? Is that what you said? Sorry, Mike.
212 churches, yes, 212 parishes, 74 schools, 73 schools, excuse me.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So you want a job, Jen?
No. That sounds like a lot. I'll stick with the grizzled professional.
No, but it is a lot. It does span the four counties, rather, Bergen, Essex, Union, and Hudson counties. But we have a great team in place. It's all about the team. A conductor is nothing without its orchestra. And so we have an amazing communications team, and we juggle a lot of different responsibilities, and we're able to manage multimedia communications and evangelization.
Yeah, I have to say the Archdiocese of Newark does a spectacular job with all of its work. So I want to thank you for giving me lots of ideas to steal. That's very kind of you. Keep up the good work.
We all serve one church, so we certainly can borrow from each other. We all do.
That's right. So let's go to the newest guy in our fold, Jay Agnish. So you have only been with the Diocese of Paterson for how long now?
Coming up on a year in June. Yeah, right. So I was in Maria hired me actually in Newark. That was my first Catholic communication job. I was there for a few years. Had an incredible time in Newark. I really enjoyed my time there. Forever grateful to Maria for hiring me and helping me find this calling that I had no idea was a calling. And I had an opportunity to come work for Bishop Kevin Sweeney, and I decided to do that. It's been probably the fastest year of my life. I mean, it's been like a lot going on, and a lot of long but exciting days. And it's kind of crazy because I'm publishing or I'm editing, in addition to my duties as a director. One of my main roles is editing a weekly newspaper again, which I did for 10 years back in the early 2000s. And it's crazy that kind of came full circle in a strange way. And it's been enjoyable working with the Beacon staff and getting back into the newspaper, but it's also been fun going in new directions. So we just launched a new podcast called Beyond the Beacon. Our diocesan newspaper is called The Beacon. So that was it's a fun play on words that one of our folks here came up with that title, and that's been a lot of fun. It's a new, different way to tell stories, something that I didn't realize would be so much fun, and a really effective way to tell stories. So I'm glad to be on your podcast, and I've been checking it out, and I've been enjoying it.
Actually, Jen and I were talking about your podcast just recently because it's an audio podcast, but you also have a video component as well on on your YouTube channel, and I was telling her that it really annoyed me at how professional it was, because we we do our best to sink to new levels, and here you are rising. Before we started the podcast, Maria asked about how we edit, and with the exception of the last episode we did, I edit almost not at all. So you guys, but yours looks good. And actually, I think, as everyone knows, in the Diocese of Camden, our bishop is now well past the age of resignation, or retirement, rather. He sent in his resignation, has not been accepted yet because he's in good health and he's a good man. But I have a feeling then when his replacement comes in, I may be stealing the idea of a bishop podcast from you guys. So we'll see who we get. Who knows? But I
it's
really
a lot
like
of
that
fun.
idea.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Bishop Sweeney, he's a gifted communicator himself. It's a blessing and a curse because I kind of have to keep up with the guy.
Yep.
It keeps me busy, but it's fun. And he, obviously communications is a priority for him, which is great.
Yeah.
So Gerry, now, longtime listeners of our podcast will know all about you, and seem to like you more than us. So that's a little irritating. But,
more than Mike.
Yes, you are the former holder of your own podcast, which retired itself about a year ago, but was one of my favorite listens. So anytime you want to bring it back, Gerry, you'll have at least one listener. But how did you come into the fold over the course of 2 dioceses?
So, one, podcast is on a pause, so we are coming back.
Good.
There is still hope. I believe in Jesus Christ, and there is always hope. So, but I think coming into, I guess, the Catholic communicator world, my work, I don't have any like secular experience. My whole career has been based in the church. I have gone from being a campus minister to a youth minister to working in a diocesan office to now being a communicator for a bishop. So it has been an interesting journey, but I think it's my whole goal in the beginning was I wanted to evangelize. I wanted to share the gospel message. I wanted to share Jesus Christ with my neighbor. And it just naturally flowed from one particular role to the next. And I think it has given me sort of the roots to kind of answer the call that Pope Francis is calling us out now as being Catholic communicators, to go out and listen, to go out and to speak with full heart, to be a real witness of the gospel message.
Don't listen to him, Jen.
That's beautiful.
I refuse to do any of that.
Well, there's already 2 words that have been mentioned that I'm going to follow up with, but not before we hear from Marianne Hartman.
Marianne, now I'm purposely saving her for last because, for all intents and purposes,
no,
you would be referred to as the Dean of Catholic Communicators. You are one of our, if not our longest serving, you're one of our longest serving Catholic communicators in the state of New Jersey. How long have you been working for the Diocese of Trenton?
Well, it's true. I started when I was just a baby in 1983. So December of this year will be 40 years.
God bless you.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how did you get your start, Marianne?
Well, I was always practicing Catholic, and I came out of college majoring in communication. And my first job was at NJN in the traffic department. And then I saw this little ad in the Monitor because my parents subscribed to the Monitor. We used to look at that to know what movies we could go to when we were younger. And so I saw this little ad. It said cable TV coordinator, and it said the Monitor. And I was like, oh. So I went in, and it was a part-time job, but I thought, and it was with the church, and we always got the Monitor, and we always went to church. And so I got the job, and the rest is history. Of course, that was in 1983. We were working with 3/4-inch tape and reel-to-reel tape in audio.
Oh,
there was
awesome.
Typewriters. We were like so excited when the fax machine came out. And of course, you couldn't use computers at that time because they weren't easy to use. So it was I've grown with the job and the technology.
Yeah, but you know what? That is the sign that we can all do it. That to start from reel to reel to the YouTube generation to the TikTok generation. That's actually a generation behind us. TikTok is now the thing. The fact that you've been able to go from one to the other is a sign of your dedication to your professionalism. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I can assure Jen right now that I will not be here 32 years from now. I may not be on the planet 32 years from now. So Jen, you had a follow up that's going to.
Yeah, well, now that we've gotten a little bit more information about everybody's background, what secular press or always in Catholic press, Jay said something really interesting where you said you didn't know it was a calling. And, I kind of feel the same way now, like, working all the time, like we all are. And my friends and family are always like, why are you working so hard? And I'm like, it's a vocation. Like I never looked at my job before as a vocation or a calling. Can you speak a little bit more to that, Jay? Because when you said that, like that totally hit a chord. Can you explain what that might be to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I was in the secular newspaper world for 15 years for North Jersey Media Group, NorthJersey.com, and The Record. And similar to what you said in the introduction, Jen, I was kicking butt with my articles. I was having a lot of success, getting tons of views. And, once we started making videos, I got real into that and having some, from the outside, success, but it was kind of hollow. And, I think about what I was writing about. I mean, I was writing about lottery winners and, I was doing some meaningful storytelling, but it just, I don't know, there was something missing. And actually came about my route to Catholic communication was kind of odd. I was actually, looking ahead and realizing that the future of newspapers was not very rosy and that I would probably need to be thinking about a new job. So I became a pilot. I became a commercially rated single engine pilot. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, my plan was to fly off and become an airline pilot. And as God works, it didn't work out that way for me. And around the time when I should have been applying for my entry-level pilot jobs as, kind of a midlife career shift, that's when I applied to the Archdiocese of Newark and kind of the rest is history. And I got hired there by Maria and discovered this calling. But I feel like there's a responsibility, I'm trying to be a good Catholic, and I was thinking about it yesterday. Like I was doing yesterday's episode of Beyond the Beacon, and it's amazing to me that, we're all in different places spiritually in our journey. And even like the bishop, so that I don't know where I was going with that, but I don't know. There's definitely a responsibility. It's been a blast. It just fits for me. That's really kind of it.
Mm-hmm. Since we have so many communicators on that have experience in secular and non-secular, when you hear the argument of, the world is not a great place because of media, but then you tell people, well, I work in Catholic media. Do you see a difference between the two obviously the news that we're reporting is different, but do you feel like we're doing our part to quiet the voices that might be negative, or do you look at secular media as negative? Or Maria or Jay, I was curious what y'all may have thought about that.
I don't try not to segment that way. I mean, I guess I kind of need to when I work on PR campaigns, hey, I'm going to hit the secular press and then I'll hit the Catholic press. But I guess there's differences, but it's kind of the same with like Christian music, like I don't like that marketing angle or that term, to me, it's like, it's music, and it's either good or it's bad. I don't know. I probably haven't thought through that enough to give you an answer there, but so I'll kick it over to Maria.
Thanks, Jay. I think I sort of agree to segment it's challenging because you have folks who are going to tune into Catholic media because maybe they spiritually, or their faith journey is in a different place. So, we do our best to evangelize, to share the stories of our schools and our parishes, to really to tell. There are so many amazing and uplifting stories throughout our 4 counties. And so we really try, we keep our ears open and we ask people to come forward with stories. And we really try very hard to share and offset some of the negative noise that's out there, some of the unfortunate coverage that's out there about the church. And like all of you, we use multimedia tools and ways of telling the story because you might have more, young people on Instagram versus maybe an older generation on Facebook. And so we really try to hit on all cylinders, if you will, and convey our stories and the news about the church in many ways.
That's a great point, a great segue when you're talking about the different ages. Marianne, I think that the monitor and the multimedia department just excels at reaching a younger generation. Can you explain a little bit for our listeners what the multimedia department does in Trenton and how you reach the different ages?
Well, one of the things with the young people is we work really well with Dan Waddington, our youth, and Angelica Gomez, our youth department. So a lot of our youth-related pieces that we do, we work through, like they have a Mission Jersey, they have DYC. So we're always trying to get the young people involved and have them be the speakers and not like us interviewing them. So we try and do a lot of short pieces that will be able to be pushed out through social media. And then Rose O'Connor, who's our social media person, is great at taking pictures and posting them everywhere. So, we try and reach the young people by having them tell the story. Like we did something on DYC, our Diocesan Youth Conference this year, and we had a young person who was the reporter for it. And so she went around interviewing the kids. And so that's what we try and do. It is really difficult because there are so many voices out there. Not all bad, but just trying to get the church's, people to hear it. So,
right. And I don't know if you want to talk about Real Faith TV, but Real Faith TV was young people on TV evangelizing.
Right. That was a show we produced back in 2000, and we had 16 seasons of it, and it was successful. And as like the media changed, like we were spending more on getting it on cable television than we were producing it because it was so expensive, because we were always putting our shows and different things out on cable and on TV. And now it's totally different. Now we have a YouTube channel that's free, and those shows still live on the Real Faith TV YouTube channel. And we had the Catholic Corner, which we produced, was an interview show with Monsignor Nolan, and we did a Spanish language show as well. But they still live on their YouTube channels. And but it kind of, like, I don't know if we could produce something like that today and be successful. We're trying to do shorter segments that will work on, even if it's just very short messages, like minute long, 2 minutes, to keep people's attention. Because in addition to the media changing, people's attention, like even my attention is shorter. If you don't get me in the, first like few seconds, like I'm moving along, So we're trying to be shorter and try and get, like we're just ready to produce something on the encouraging Catholic marriage. And we've got these little 60-second spots about a book that somebody in Peg Hensler wrote with a couple other people on encouraging Catholic marriage. So to promote that and promote the whole idea, we have like a bunch of like 1 minute 1.5 minute segments that will be able to stand alone, but then also be on a playlist in YouTube. So instead of having a long interview, people can tune in. I mean, we hope, we pray, but.
Right. I think one of the
Jen,
things...
I just want you to know now already that I'm stealing ideas. And,
I know.
y'all are going to be so busy in this department because they're a bunch. And actually, I'm going to go yell at one of our other departments for not doing enough because the stuff Marianne is saying right now is making me aggravated that we're not doing the exact same thing here. so thank you, Marianne.
The grizzled communicator is getting angry. And also Maria used the word borrowed, I think, earlier. So I like her word better than stealing.
Well, there's this line I use all the time. Good writers borrow, great writers steal, and I want to be great. So I'm going to steal. But I did want to go back to Gerry for a second, because Gerry most recently annoyed me prior to Marianne, because he's irritatingly upbeat for a communications person. And I think that's because he started as an evangelizer in youth ministry. So I kind of wanted to ask Gerry, that jump from youth ministry to communications, was that particularly difficult for you?
I would say maybe yes and no, but mostly no, because communications, as I've come to sort of grasp, is relationship. And that's what youth ministry was. Youth ministry was getting to know the young people in front of me, building a relationship, and then serving them in their great need. I think that's what's the heart of our communication work too, is that we're geared towards building a relationship with our parishioners, with the people in our diocese, with the people in the church, with the people who are not in the church, who sort of come to us and question, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Why is this happening? And it kind of breaks the door open just a little bit to begin to build a relationship with an individual. And once you have that sort of, foundation of a relationship, then I can start talking to you about Jesus Christ. And that is the greatest conversation I have. And so I think the challenge here is that there are many different avenues, and learning those different avenues and how to speak to different communicators. That's why I love this group right here, because anytime I have a question, I shoot a quick email out and it's instant that I get a response back of support. So there's been challenges, but it's been the work of the church. So I feel it's been a smooth transition.
Well, Gerry is I was just gonna say that Gerry's young and they grow up on this. They're already making videos,
That's true.
when they're young. So I'm
not that young anymore, Marianne.
Will always be young to me, Gerry.
Gerry, you also have your boss has a title that is the first that I've seen anywhere, if I remember correctly. So your boss is Adam Carlisle, right? He's the director of communications, but he's the director of communications and evangelization, right?
Yeah, so he's the secretary. It's a bigger step there.
Oh, okay.
He's the secretary of evangelization and communications. So we are now a secretariat of evangelization and communications, and it's a grouping of offices within the pastoral life of Metuchen.
Well, it's interesting because, Jen and I will often have this argument about, our roles in the evangelization and us as evangelizers. And I have my opinions and Jen has her opinions. I have the benefit of mine being right. But the fact that those two were connected as a secretary, because so for transparency, I'm the secretary for communications for the Diocese of Camden. But our secretariat remains just overall communications for the diocese and all of its various communicators and our interdisciplinary diocesan team and stuff like that. But when I saw that secretariat formed, I remember thinking to myself, there's actually some brilliance to that, since they go hand in hand. Is the
oh yeah. I mean, when Bishop Checchio first came here about 6 years ago, he saw how things were a little bit disconnected, and he brought those two together. And I think it's been a God gift that we have brought evangelization and communications into one, because now, our publication, The Catholic Spirit, the work we do in communications and the work we do in evangelization all go together at one. And we kind of work together more collaboratively, as Jen shared. And we are able to sort of meet the people, serve the people, and spread the news of Jesus Christ. That's the end day, the goal that we're hoping for. The goal is, I don't think, just getting numbers or getting likes or getting, how many people have, reshared something that I put together. My goal here is to get more people to know and, fall in love with Jesus Christ, the man that I currently love to serve.
Aw. I knew you were gonna laugh, but I had to do an awe. I'm sorry, Mike. But I'm also sorry, Gerry, because I do watch the numbers, and I'll watch when our videos go up. I'm like, we have another like.
Don't live on the likes, Jen. Live on Jesus.
That's awesome, Gerry. And I've never used that sentence. I always say ignore the data, because it's we only have one goal. I find it. This may just be me. My philosophy has always been butts and seats. I want to see our parishes filled, and I want to see our schools filled. And if we do that through viral videos, that's great, but I don't really care. I don't care whether the people are there. Though, Gerry, I think yours, number of souls, works.
They will come and sit down. That's for sure, Mike.
Gerry, you're so awesome. Why do we not have him back more often?
I don't know.
No, that's dangerous. Don't do that.
You know what? I think I've been looking for a temporary or a occasional replacement for myself. Hey, Jen, I think I'm going to pair you from Gerry for now on.
I'm down with that.
We'll make this multi-diocesan.
I love that.
Bishop Checchio would like that too.
Bishop Checchio likes everything the Diocese of Camden does, because
that is for sure. That is for sure. He is a son of Camden.
That is right.
He's a son of Camden.
So we've been talking about a lot of the happier parts of our job, but certainly for the communications directors, for Jay and myself and Maria and Marianne and Adam, who couldn't be on the call, our jobs can be difficult. We have a lot of things to deal with in our lives. And, Jay, you mentioned earlier about, how this vocation nurtures you. And Maria, I just kind of wanted to go back to you. The three of us, particularly you and I, Maria, over the last couple of years have had to weather quite a few storms in the state of New Jersey, related to a number of different things.
Sure.
We certainly had our fair share of parish mergers and school closures, and the release of the abusive clergy list. My diocese is going through a bankruptcy right now. I'm curious, in that time period, of which you and I are almost the exact same time period, how are you able to keep your faith strong when we're dealing with such difficulties?
How can you not? I think that, putting our faith first is what really helps us get through those challenging times. And I think that the strength of our faith, it's really what takes me through those tough times. When I came into this role of communications, it was just a month after that we released the list of credibly accused. And so really it was baptism by fire. So it was one of the most challenging times of my career. Luckily, and this kind of goes back to, borrowing. Luckily, I reached out blindly to other dioceses across the country that were already rolling out similar information. And so our colleagues across the country were so forthcoming with help and information and in guiding how to get through, with the materials, developing the Q&As and the FAQs and how they held a press release or how, et cetera. It was such a blessing. And again, it's because we all serve one church. We're not in competition with each other, diocese to diocese. And so I found that so refreshing from working in the corporate world. It was so amazing. And then I too was able to pay it forward, because after several months after we rolled out the information and conducted media outreach and had to address a lot of challenges and concerns. I too was contacted by other dioceses asking about how we conducted media relations. Did we have a press conference? Et cetera. Lots of questions. And so I was able to, in turn, share what I learned and hopefully offer some guidance too. So I think that faith is first and foremost. And without that, it would have been really tough to get through those first few months. And then, of course, the pandemic, the following year 2 of my my role, it was another tough year, but we pulled through. And again, reaching out to other dioceses and just hearing, we share good ideas and what to do, what not to do, best case scenarios, best practices. I think that by leaning on each other, it helps us to do our jobs better, to serve our ministries with greater efficiency and more effectively.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's great collegiality amongst the communications departments in the United States. I don't think I've ever been rebuffed by any communications director that I've ever reached out to regarding, something that they're going through that we might be going through in the near future. Right now, I'm currently every time a new bishop is named, I'm immediately going to that diocese and see what they did and how they handled their press conferences and what their rollout timeline was and all sorts of that stuff. So it is, and it's great. And I will say, I don't know if I totally agree that the dioceses don't compete with each other. I'll let you know. I mean, Jen has certainly heard me be very competitive about our fellow dioceses in the state of New Jersey. But I will say that there's not a call I wouldn't take from any of our colleagues, Maria, as to if there's anything I could ever do. And I've certainly felt the same way from all of you. So that's a great sign. And I feel that the journalists feel the same way, Jen, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I would say between working in Trenton and working in Camden, I've gotten to know the editors of the other paper. Jay and I spoke a few times when I was in Trenton, and Jay was in Newark. So when you moved on to Paterson and got promoted to the director's spot, I was very, very excited for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your support. I mean, everyone's been super supportive of me. And I did deep dive into some software that we use here in Paterson. I reached out to folks in like Baltimore and somewhere down south, and it, I get quick callbacks and I mean, the wider team of the American Diocesan Communicators and editors is super supportive. I definitely agree with that.
Mike, I have a question for you.
That seems like a bad idea.
I know. What about you when you first came to Catholic Communications? Because you had been in communicators roles before, but not Catholic Communications. Was that a difficult transition for you?
Was it a difficult transition? No. I've been pretty honest with folks who have asked me, when I made that jump, that I can't. All right, it was partially soulful in the sense that I came from corporate law. I did marketing for corporate law firms before I came here, and that had a way of sucking the soul right out of your body. So I was looking forward to working on the side of the angels. But the truth of the matter is, I was also looking for professional development, and I was a very good marketer, a pretty good communicator, but I hadn't done any crisis communication work, or very little anyway, very little crisis communication work. And I felt like there was a hole in my portfolio, and I said, well, if there's any group of people that are in need of crisis communication from time to time, it's the Catholic Church. Oh boy, was I not prepared for how much of that work I was going to get to do. I'm now considered a crisis communication expert, so that portfolio is checked off. But it was, I not too dissimilarly for what Marianne said. My wife saw an ad in the Catholic Star Herald for a communications person for the schools department, and the HR director, our communications, my predecessor, had just left not too long before that position opened, or not too far after that position opened. And the HR director saw my resume and said, "Hey, I think this guy might be better served as our communications director." And I went through the process, and I had the benefit of having known the stories of that guy's predecessor, a guy by the name of Andy Walton, who is perhaps the best Catholic communications director I've ever met. He went through the real wars when the first parish in the country, when the first bulk parish mergers happened. And he went through a hell that I have not had to face in the 7 years I've been here. But that, from what I'm told by the long timers, was worse than anything any had ever gone through, because the hostility from the parishes not unexpected, but people's churches were being taken away from them. And this is the first time anything like that had ever happened. Bishop Galante at that time was at the front edge of that. And I saw how Andy handled the situation with grace and dignity and sheer professionalism. I've since found out in the years since I've had this job that, behind the scenes, there might have been a terse word said here or there, but in front of the cameras and to the press, he was unbelievable. And I saw that as a baby professional at that point. Even then, I remarked at how incredible it was. So he was actually on the group that interviewed me for the job, and I've tried to keep in touch with him over the years because once again, when you want to figure out how to do something, look to others, look who have been down this path before. So it's been fantastic. And this is I've talked about this on the podcast before too. Most PR people, we bounce around constantly because that's the only way to make a move oftentimes in this field. And I've been here now almost 8 years, and there hasn't been a single day where I didn't want to come to work, which I can tell you would not be what I thought in my previous jobs. There were a lot of days I would have liked to have been anywhere else. And Jen, you know this because I never take a day off.
You do not.
I'm lame. That's true. So yeah, that's my history. But we all come to these things for their own reasons, and I'm always the people who do this because they want to do what they can do for the greater glory of God really impress me, and they're the ones I feel like I have to learn from all the time.
I feel also, I'm curious what everybody else here thinks, is that we all come from different backgrounds and different talents, and yet I feel like we are moved to the positions that we're in now through the Holy Spirit. Either it was time to make a move, or it was time to grow a talent. Would you agree with that? I see Marianne, you nodding your head. Gerry, would you agree with that, Gerry?
Oh, I'd totally agree with that. When I was discerning into moving into Metuchen, it definitely was a Holy Spirit moment. The Lord really, really called me and kind of took everything else away and was like, this is where I want you to be. And so I do feel that this has been a great gift of a calling, but also, the Lord moves, the Spirit moves. And I think it's just, we have to sort of submit to that and sort of respond in a joyful way.
Marianne, I know that, you've already said that you started in 1983, 84. You had to keep up with technologies the entire way.
Yeah, I just feel like the Holy Spirit has always been with me whenever I'm worried about, what we're producing or how we're doing something or just anything. I just feel like the Holy Spirit has always been present. Sometimes I'll say, well, the Holy Spirit is the producer of this show, not me, because it's, even before my confirmation, maybe,
So in our last 5 minutes, I just want to kind of do a little round robin here. Maria, are there any projects that you've wanted to get done in the last couple of years that you haven't had a chance to yet that you'd like to put on the front burner, or is there anything big coming out of Newark? Don't give us any secrets, but any new projects?
Are you looking to borrow ideas, Mike?
Yes, exactly.
That's the purpose of this round robin. So we have some exciting projects on the way. Yes, we have some big projects that are in the works right now. One of which is a new facelift to our website. That's an exciting big project. We also are working on some items and toolboxes for our pastors and parishes to help them in their communications efforts. And so, so we're moving along, and they're exciting.
Those are great. How about you, Jay? Anything big coming down the pike? You already, whipped out your podcast and your YouTube show. What else is coming?
What else is coming? So I'm kind of tinkering in the background on a new website for our new news website for the Beacon. So it's beaconnj.org. So I've been working with my IT person, Mary Lennon, and it was supposed to be launched back in around Easter time, but the podcast kind of took over my life, and so that'll be some point in the near future. And just always trying to make improvements, to all of our products and our communications channels. Probably add some new channels. I imagine we'll get Bishop Kevin up on Twitter at some point, and we don't even have a diocesan YouTube yet, so I think in social media there'll be plenty going on there.
Excellent. Gerry, what about you?
On the relationship front, we're really our main goal next year would be to do what Bishop Checchio wanted to do before the pandemic, was gather our communication champions, which is our bulletin editors, secretaries, our boots on the ground in the parishes who communicate every single day to our communities and to our parishioners. So we're looking forward to gathering them up, gathering information, and then teaching them best practices and best ways to spread the gospel.
Cool. I like that. That's always useful. We do that from time to time in the diocese, and it's always very well received. How about you, Marianne?
Well, I kind of spoke to some of the things we were doing. I'd like to just say that I couldn't do any of that without the support staff that I have, Ryan Larison and our freelancer, Frank Lettieri, because all of these things, they're just really smart guys that can figure out ways to do things on a shoestring budget. So that's all I have.
Oh, that's good. How about you, Jen? What's coming down the pike for the Star Herald?
The Catholic Star Herald is pretty close to launching a new website as well. We've been working with our IT department to finish up the touches on that. So I'm hoping in the next, 4 to 6 weeks, we should have a soft launch of the website. And then, what I'd like to see this summer and next fall, Mike, I would like to see a more youth news and online and in our paper. Our sports section is amazing. It's popping. We usually have 2 to 3 pages every issue, and we're always putting game news in real time up on our social media accounts. And I would just like to start really diving more into the parishes and get some youth ministry news on our website.
I would like that to happen as well. I can say from the communications department angle, Talking Catholic officially has a TikTok account. I can't guarantee that we'll actually use it anytime soon because I'd still need a face of TikTok. And this, as I'm pointing to myself on the Zoom call, is not the face of TikTok that we should be putting out there. But I am looking for that. So if anyone would like to be the face of TikTok for the Diocese of Camden, by all means, reach out to me. But yeah, I'm always looking for new ideas and places to go. And, everything that we do, I think we do well, but I'm always looking for 1,000 other things to work on. I would like, as Jen well knows, I'd like to have a priest YouTube show. We have a bunch of lay people who are doing YouTube shows for us right now, but I need a couple of our overworked priests to sign on to that. So we'll see what happens, but we're always doing whatever we can, right, Marianne?
That's right.
There you go. Because she knows she's been
one of Jen's cats for your TikTok face.
Oh, a Talking Catholic cat account. That didn't even occur to me.
Talking Catholic.
Talking Catholic. I am now going to end this podcast.
Yeah, I bet.
We have gone too far.
That's great.
So So Maria and Gerry and Jay and Marianne, thank you all so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate that.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is great.
So much.
And Jen, thank you as always for co-hosting. And to everyone else, enjoy the show, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, and we'll be back at you next week. See you, everybody.
God bless.